Yes, Prabhuji, start.
Okay. Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udire Anivatam Swakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Vidyantasta Vivatrani Vidnoti Vittatam Nashtaprayeshu Bhattreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtaki. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th Canto, or Summum Bodham. Now today is 11th chapter, verses 1 to 3. This chapter is titled The Childhood Pastimes of Krishna. So the summary of the chapter is given. This chapter describes how the inhabitants of Gokula left Gokula and went to Vrindavan, and how Krishna killed Vatsasura and Bakasura. When the Yamula Arjuna trees fell, they made a tremendous sound like that of falling thunderbolts. Being surprised, Krishna's father Nanda and other elderly inhabitants of Gokula went to the spot where they saw the fallen trees and Krishna standing between them, bound to the Ulukhala, the wooden mortar. They could find no cause for the trees having fallen and Krishna's being there. They thought this might be the work of some other asura who had met Krishna on this spot, and they inquired from the playmates of Krishna about how the whole incident had taken place. The children properly described how everything had happened, but the elderly persons could not believe the story. Some of them, however, thought that it might be true since they had already seen many wonderful incidents in connection with Krishna. Anyway, Nanda Maharaj immediately released Krishna from the ropes. In this way, Krishna had every day and every moment displayed wonderful incidents to increase the parental affection of Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda, who thus felt both surprise and joy. The breaking of the Yamala Arjuna was one of these wonderful pastimes. One day, a fruit vendor approached Nanda Maharaj's house, and Krishna gathered some food grains with his little palms, went to the vendor to exchange the grains for fruit. On the way, almost all the grains fell from his palms, only one or two grains remaining. But the fruit vendor, out of full affection, accepted these grains in exchange for as much fruit as Krishna could take. As soon as she did this, her basket became filled with gold and jewels. Thereafter, all the elderly Gopas decided to leave Gokula because they saw that in Gokula there was always some disturbance. They decided to go to Vrindavan, Braj and the next day they all departed. In Vrindavan, both Krishna and Balaram, after finishing their childhood pastimes, began to take charge of the calves and send them to the pasturing grounds, Gocharan. During this time, a demon named Vatsasura entered among the calves and was killed, and another asura in the shape of a big duck was also killed. The playmates of Krishna narrated all these stories to their mothers. The mothers could not believe their children, Krishna's playmates, but because of full affection, they enjoyed these narrations of Krishna's pastimes. Text 1. Sri Shukuvacha Gopanandadaya Shrutva Drumayopat Toravam Tatra Jagmu Guru Shrestha Nirghata Bhay Shandkita Nirghata Bhay Shankitaha. Synonyms. Sukuvacha. Sukadeva Goswami said, Gopa, all the coward men, Nanda Adaya, headed by Nanda Maharaj. Shrutva, hearing, Rumayo, of the two trees, Patatayo, falling down, Ravam, the high sound, as terrible as a thunderbolt. Tatra, there, on the spot. Ajagmu, went, Kurushrestha, O Maharaj Parikshit, Nirghata Bhay Sankita, who are afraid of falling thunderbolts. Translation by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Sukadeva Goswami continued, O Maharaj Parikshit, when the Yamala Arjuna trees fell, all the coward men in the neighborhood, hearing the fierce sound and fearing thunderbolts, went to the spot. No purport for that verse. Text 2. Bhumyam nipatitau tatra adrishurya malarjuno abhramus Vikyaya Lakshayam Patan Karanam. Synonyms. Bhumyam, on the ground. Nipatito, which had fallen. Tatra, there. Tatrishu, all of them saw. Himala Arjuna, the twin Arjuna trees. Babhramu, they became bewildered. Tat, that. Avikyaya, but they could not trace out. Lakshayam, although they could directly perceive that the trees had fallen. Patan Karanam, the cause of their falling. How could it have happened all of a sudden? Translation. There they saw the fallen Yamala Arjuna trees on the ground, but they were bewildered because even though they could directly perceive that the trees had fallen, they could not trace out the cause of their having done so. Considering purport, considering all the circumstances, had this been done by Krishna? He was standing on the spot, and his playmates described that this had been done by him. Had Krishna actually done this? Or were these merely stories? This was a cause of bewilderment. End of purport. Text 3. Lukhalam vikarshantam damna madham cha balakam kasyedam kuta Ascharyam utpata iti kataraha. Synonyms. Ulukhalam, the wooden mortar. Vikarshantam, dragging. Damna, with the rope. Adhamcha, bound by the belly. Balakam, Krishna. Kasya, of whom. Idam, this. Kuta, where from. Ascharyam, these wonderful happenings. Utpata, disturbance. Iti, thus, Katara, they were very much agitated. Translation. Krishna was bound by the rope to the ulukhala, the mortar, which he was dragging. How could he have pulled down the trees? Who had actually done it? Where was the source of this incident? Considering all these astounding things, coward men were doubtful and bewildered. Purport. The coward men were very much agitated because the child Krishna, after all, had been standing between the two trees, and if by chance the trees had fallen upon him, he could have been smashed. but he was standing as he was, and still things had happened. So, who had done all this? How could these events have happened in such a wonderful way? These considerations were some of the reasons they were agitated and bewildered. They thought, however, that by chance Krishna had been saved by God so that nothing had happened to him. End of purport. Om Ajnanatamendasya Gyaranjana Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Advaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminite Namine Namaste Saraswati Dev Gaurvani Prajarine Nirvishesh Shunyavadi Paschata Deshadharine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivashadi Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare. So you see that while performing the pastime, Krishna had all the events sequentially planned. How Mother Yashoda would react to the spilling of the milk, and how she will drop him, and how she will bind him, and then how he will drag the arukulam and in between the Yamula trees, and then how he will exert a little bit pull and cause the downfall of the tree. Had this been done by a natural event, or by high winds, hurricane, or what you call here those tornadoes, so-called, the trees would have fallen only in one direction, see. But these trees, as we noticed, they fell in opposite directions, one on the right side, one on the left side. So, and Krishna being in the middle, this was very bewildering to all the coward men, including Nanda Maharaja, who heard the noise and he came rushing to the spot, and they saw what they saw. So this is how Krishna has been performing his pastimes from the time of his birth, of his appearance. As a few months old Putra was delivered, who came with poison-laced breast to feed Krishna. Instead, Krishna sucked out her life. So, events go as per Krishna's plans. Nothing happens when we plan. We may make perfect plans sometimes, and then we know that, okay, it's not going as we planned. It's going for Krishna's plan. So whatever is happening in anybody's life, any living entity's life, or in any planetary system, it is through the supreme will of the Supreme Lord, Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. Sri Krishna. So, under these circumstances, when we become aware that even though we plan and even though we try, we do, Krishna, but basically everything is happening because of Krishna. Because for a blade of grass cannot move without the will of the Supreme Lord. So who are we? We can't even move our hands and feet without His sanction. So things are happening because of Krishna's plans. And the whole cosmos, creation, universes are being conducted. Scientists may call it like, the Big Bang theory happening here and the black hole there, and the black hole is absorbing all the planets. But it is all Krishna's plans that is happening. And, for a devotee, it makes it very simple because devotees know they have only this strong faith in Krishna. And they don't even acknowledge Krishna in Vrindavan, the Gopas, as Krishna being the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna is their friend, their Sakha. And therefore there are no formalities. They're not offering any obeisances to him. But they know their friend is wonderful. He performs wonderful pastimes. So Krishna, in the summary we read, like Krishna, how he helped that fruit vending lady. So, was it her plan? No, it was only her surrender. That is what Krishna sees. It is just the surrender from her. Okay, I'll take your 2 grains of rice or whatever you got, and then in exchange you take as much food as you want. Even though the fruits also belong to Krishna, but she was given that means by which she can earn her livelihood. So she offers that to him, and in return, Krishna takes away her miserable way of life by giving her the riches, gold and diamonds and ornaments. So it is our surrender. Ye yatha mam prapadyante tam tatha bhajamyaham. Ham vartamanu vartante manushya partha sarvasha. As all surrender to me, I reward them accordingly. So, do we see that it rewards also? Even for very slight surrender also when we do from our heart, we see that multiple fold mercy is bestowed upon us. One cannot argue. One cannot argue in these matters that I didn't experience the mercy. No. Without you knowing what is mercy and what is good for you, Krishna has already bestowed upon you, even though you have not surrendered. But what is that surrender when you are saying that, I surrendered, I did not experience the mercy? That means you never surrendered. You put an I before the word surrender. So we have to develop that. Develop that. That is the perfection that one can achieve, one can look for. In the stage of perfection, there is the ahankara, the ego is all melted away, gone. That is the perfection of life. You have attained Krishna. But when you want to enjoy, when you want to say that I want to see someone, I want to do this, I. Even the smallest of the things like taking care of your children, even though it is out of love for your child, it is still an action which is driven for some kind of small self pleasure. So even though it is a nishkam karma, but it is still done out of expectation. So with that, expectations, even though we are independent, given that minute independence to perform the actions, and the fact that we are in this material world, had our actions been very, very good and neutralized, and our karma, the reactions of our karmas were all burnt up, then we would be in a spiritual world, not in this material world with this material body. This material body comes about because of prarabdha. Prarabdha is obtained through pious activities and sinful activities. So you will find all kinds of people. Some people they are not pious at all because they are very sinful. Or rather, most people are. And they justify that, okay, everything is all about senses. So as long as this prarabdha, the sinful actions or pious actions will be there, one will have to take birth repeatedly and be recycled in this 8.4 million species of life, depending on karma, depending on desires, depending on activities. How can we be free from this cycle? Surrender. Ego, surrender. Devotional service, chanting the holy name of the Lord. With a humble state of mind, without any ego, we can understand ourselves, our relationship with Krishna, and our own constitutional position of serving the Lord in its entirety, in spiritual realm, not in this material world. So while living also, we can achieve that simplicity, and anything that you see which is connected to Krishna, Krishna's activity, even in this material world, will appear as spiritual world to oneself. So those are some of the great pastimes that we are covering in this 10th canto. So this devotional service is the path, as Rupa Goswami says, Anya Bhilasita Sunyam Jnana Karmadi Anavrittam Anukulyena Krishnanu Shrilanam Bhaktiruttama. It's translated as, when first-class devotional service develops, one must be devoid of all material desires. Knowledge obtained from monistic philosophy and fruitive action, the devotee must constantly serve Krishna favorably as Krishna desires. So those are some of the key elements in achieving that egoless existence. We can achieve that, then we can be assured, and it is guaranteed, that one will not take birth in this material world. Sarvadharman parityajyam mamekam sharanam vraja. Sharanam vraja. Aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshishyami ma sucha. So Krishna will burn to ashes all the reactions to your past karma from the billions of the births that we have had in the past. Prarabdha, whatever will be there, enjoy or suffer during this lifetime, and then you are done. Homework done. Back to Godhead. Prarabdha, you will have to suffer, whether it is for pious things or for impious things. So resultant action has to be there. Whether it will come as physical ailment, mental ailment, or but if we are able to do that, then at the end of our life, we will see that prarabdhas have been neutralized, karma's reactions have been burnt, nothing else, no ego, and we are going back home to engage in loving devotional service to the Supreme Personality. So with this, I conclude today's offering of Srimad Bhagavatam. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to serve Srimad Bhagavatam and thereby purify myself. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. If there are any questions, comments, please feel free to address them. I'll try to answer them to the best of my knowledge, best of my ability.
No questions.
No questions, Mataji?
No questions.
Why? Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for joining.
Hare Krishna.
Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo.
Koti Vaishnavi ki jai. Have a wonderful day.
Good. Thanks.
Everything good class, Prabhu. No question.
Oh.